Straw for the House. A retelling of the Japanese folktale Warashibe Chouja by PJ Leonard. Part 2. Tina headed back up the hill, dragging her feet. Only half an hour before, she had felt light enough to fly, but now her feet felt as though they were made of brick. Despite that, she was fast catching up with the old lady further up the street who was carrying shopping bags so big that they almost dragged along the ground. Wait, no, they were dragging on the ground, the old lady clearly struggling to lift them, let alone carry them. How had she gotten this far? Tina quickly caught up with her, and by then, the old lady was nearly bent double, swaying on the spot. She wasn't just tired. Something was very wrong. Are you okay? Tina asked gingerly. The old lady slowly shook her head and staggered away to lean against the nearby wall. She opened her handbag, fumbled, and dropped it, spilling its contents on the pavement. Purse, receipts, pens. The old lady looked straight past them and pointed numbly at a strange tube no bigger than a relay baton rolling away. Tina blocked it with her foot and picked it up, and instantly knew what it was. This old lady was diabetic, and this was her insulin pen. The old lady was already slumping against the wall, looking somewhere between being very sleepy and very drunk. She was in no fit state to inject insulin into herself, and Tina didn't have a clue how to do it herself. Cold panic crept up on her. Should she call an ambulance? Maybe she could look up how to do it on her phone. She reached into her pocket, but her hand found not the smooth glass of her phone, but the crinkly package of the chocolate bar. In a rush, the one thing she knew about diabetes came back to her. Sugar. This lady needed sugar. Tina ripped open the packaging and handed it to the old lady, who looked at her with bleary eyes. "Eat it," said Tina. That is what you need, right? Tina could almost see the cogs in the old lady's head slowly turning, and she brought the chocolate bar up to her mouth and ate. Tina didn't dare take her eyes off of the old lady as she scrambled around to collect her dropped belongings and then stuff them back into her handbag. But after just 2 minutes of eating chocolate, Tina could already see an improvement. The old lady could now stand up straight, and she became more awake and aware of the world around her with every chew. "That's better," said the old lady, scrunching up the empty chocolate wrapper and looking to Tina with a smile. "Thank you, dearie. You've just saved me a visit to the hospital. Probably saved my life as well." Don't mention it," said Tina gruffly, feeling her ears burn. Tina heaved the heavy bags to the side of the pavement. "What were you doing carrying these things up the hill?" "Being incredibly stubborn, that's what," said the old lady, shaking her head. "Old Terry offered to give me a lift to the antique shop, but I said, 'No, Terry, the fresh air will do me good.' Well, the fresh air nearly killed me off, didn't it?" The old lady chuckled and slapped her thigh. Tina laughed awkwardly with her. She was exaggerating that she'd nearly died, wasn't she? "Speaking of which, I don't know if I can ever repay you for saving me, but maybe I can try," she said, rummaging through her bags. "Oh, please don't worry, it's fine. Here you go." The old lady didn't take anything out of the bags. She slid a whole bag across the pavement to rest under Tina's feet. Tina stared at the old lady. "It's a full set of bone china crockery. Was on my way to sell it," said the old lady. "Me and Terry are saving up to go on a round-the-world cruise. But you can have it, dearie. It's the least I can do." Tina was well aware of her mouth opening and closing like a goldfish, grasping for words. "But your cruise," the old lady smiled, "is already saved and paid for. We were selling these on for extra spending money. I think we'll survive being thrifty on a couple of islands." Tina looked at the bag. This is too much. I can't." "Look, darling, take the bag or it gets left here. I'm not carrying it anymore. Besides, I'm only giving you one bag. I'm still keeping the other." Tina sighed and picked up the bag. It wasn't as heavy as she thought. "What are you going to do?" asked Tina. The old lady was already tapping away on her phone. "Going to take up Terry's offer on a lift after all. You go on ahead, dear. I'll wait here for him. I'll be just fine. Oh, and thanks again." Tina hoisted the bag up on her shoulder and left the old lady humming merrily to herself. First a piece of straw for chocolate, then chocolate for antique china. Whatever next? Tina knew the antique shop that the old lady was talking about. She'd pass it on the way home. It was the kind of shop that never looked open. The display in the window was impeccably kept, but Tina had never seen anybody enter or leave the place. Out of curiosity, she stopped outside the shop and peered through the window. It was pitch black inside. How did this place survive as a shop? Surely the old lady couldn't have expected to fetch a good price from here, no matter what they were selling. Something in the corner of Tina's eye caught her attention. Amidst a display of old dolls, bottles with yellowing labels, and model trains was a teacup. A china teacup. It wouldn't have stood out to her if she hadn't met the old lady. Why would she sell china crockery to the shop that already has its own? Unless... She carefully lifted one of the many boxes from out of the bag. It was a sealed display box with the contents clear to see. A china plate with a blue and white design so intricate that it could have passed as a work of art, let alone fine kitchenware. She looked from the plate to the teacup in the window. The designs were exactly the same. She looked around the rest of the window display for other china items, but there was only the teacup. Could it be? A light switched on in the antique shop, making Tina jump and almost drop the box. She peered inside. A shadowy figure had stepped out from the back of the shop and was now weaving its way through the shelves of knickknacks towards the front door. Tina considered making a run for it, but too late. The front door swung open to the sound of a jingling bell, and out stepped what must have been the owner. He was a tiny little man, with delicate half-moon glasses propped on the end of his crooked nose. His greying hair was slicked back on his head so firmly that it looked as if he'd painted it onto his scalp, and he was staring straight at her. "You," he whispered, pointing a shuddering finger at the box in her hands. "Where did you find that?" "What?" said Tina. "Shh!" The old man raised a finger to his lips and looked wildly around, as if expecting to catch a spy lurking behind the lampposts. "Come inside, please. Quickly now." Before Tina could say anything else, she was ushered into the antique shop. She heard the door being bolted shut behind her as she staggered over the scratchy old welcome mat. She would have been terrified if the old man didn't look as frail as some of the peeling old posters hanging on the walls. "The full collection!" the old man said, beaming and rubbing his hands. "I can't believe it! I never thought I'd see the day!" He paused, staring at Tina expectantly. Tina groped around for something to say, but only came up with, "What are you talking about?" The old man's glasses nearly slid off of his nose. "You have the rest of the china collection that matches my teacup," he said, doing a little jig across the shop floor. "I've spent my entire life looking for the rest of the legendary Spode set, and I've only found one piece, and now it finds me. May I?" Sure, said Tina, holding out the bag. The old man took it as though he were handling a newborn baby. He carefully slid each box out of the bag, lining the dinner plates, salad plates, saucers, teacups, and gravy boat on a nearby empty shelf. By the time he'd laid out the final piece, a grand old teapot, his glasses were misting over with tears. "Oh," he said, sniffing as he wiped his glasses on his sleeve. "It's all here, and in perfect condition, too. This is a miracle, truly a miracle. How did you get this?" "Well," Tina started, but the old man held up a hand. "Say no more," he declared. "What matters now is the trade. Yes, I must simply have these off of you. Now look, I don't have much in the way of money, but I am full of trinkets and treasures from around the world. Please, take a look around. Take whatever you want." Half dazed, Tina found herself being steered into the melee of the shop's shelves. "Now don't hesitate to ask about anything you're not sure about," said the old man. "You have walked in here with a priceless treasure for me, so I insist that you can't leave until you have a priceless treasure of your own." He was so happy, so beside himself, that Tina just knew she had to make this trade. Besides, she had no use for that set of china anyway. She might as well get something out of it for her. But as she walked around the stacks of old vinyl records, wooden dollhouses, and pocket watches, she scratched her head. She'd never really been one for antiques. Nothing here really jumped out at being something she really wanted. The old man must have mistook her confused look, because the grin on his wrinkly face only grew wider. "Ah, tricky one, I see. Well, I should have known you'd be looking for the exceptionally rare." He considered Tina in silence for a while. Then he beckoned her towards the back of the shop. He reached behind the counter and pulled out a small safe that was chained to the underside of the desk. He turned the combination lock on the safe until it clicked open, and from it lifted a key. "I think I have just the thing for you," he said. End of part 2.